Let's kick things off with the big deal going on over in Florida here. Adam, we know the whole landscape that is Florida right now, the turn on, turn off, now kind of a monopoly type situation over there. What do we have as further developments?
Well, what we have as the actual news of the moment is the U.S. Supreme Court choosing not to hear the West Flagler case challenging the Seminole Tribe compact with Governor Ron DeSantis that facilitated Hard Rock Bet being able to open in Florida. Now, we had a feeling this was going to be the outcome, right? This was the most expected outcome of this situation, was that the Supreme Court was going to say that they are not going to hear the case. They only hear about 2% of the requests that they get every year. And it seemed, at least to our legal experts that we talked to, that with the way things had been denied coming up to the Supreme Court did not suggest this was one that the Supreme Court was going to take on. Seminole Tribe obviously pleased. And more than anything, what this decision does is begins the discussion in other places of, will other tribes attempt to follow suit in the way that the Seminole Tribe has acted in Florida? I'll take a pause right here. If you want to know more about the actual legal machinations of all of that, definitely go to legalsportsreport.com and look back over the last 3 or 4 years of articles that John Holden, our legal expert at the time, was writing for us. He laid out a lot of the groundwork of this. There are IGRA-related issues when it comes to placement of servers and so on, but the fact that the Supreme Court chose not to hear this does potentially open some kind of path. It also maybe sets up Florida in a situation where you could end up with more brands. There's always been a way for FanDuel, DraftKings, etc., if they wanted to get into Florida. However, there are myriad issues when it comes to that, including the revenue share that would be required, including sharing of information that would likely be required with the tribe, because the tribe is in charge of everything in Florida. So what really will be interesting coming off the back of this is to see if there will be movement in any other states where there is tribal exclusivity, and whether they will use the fact that the Supreme Court did not hear this decision as legal basis to be able to try to launch in their places.
Spokesperson for the Seminole Tribe of Florida, applauds today's decision by the U.S. Supreme Court to decline consideration of the case involving the tribe's gaming compact with the state of Florida. It means members of the Seminole Tribe and all Floridians can count on a bright future made possible by the compact. That is a verbal backflip right there, Adam, is what that is.
I can see the backflip happening. I can picture it in my mind from what is being said there. Now, keep in mind, there are still avenues for this to be challenged at the state level, which was essentially what was said prior to this in the last denial of the West Flagler case at the federal level. So there is a way for this to be challenged at the state level. However, the Supreme Court avenue was probably the biggest threat to what was out there, at least in the immediate term, for the Seminole Tribe and for Hard Rock in Florida. How well is it doing? We don't really know. We assume that Hard Rock is probably in a situation where they're very profitable in the state of Florida, considering they're the only operator and the appetite for online sports betting that has been there. But what will really be interesting will be to see, not only down there, but anywhere else, whether this leads to tribal movement in iGaming. And that is a much larger question than it is with sports betting, because we know that many tribes throughout the country who operate brick and mortar casinos have been fearful of what the potential for cannibalization would be when it comes to online casino taking away from brick and mortar. Now, there are a number of studies out there, including one that we featured a sister site of LSR recently, talking about how that's not actually the case, how online casino does not take away from brick and mortar. However, that has been one of the fears that's been out there over time. So it'll be interesting to see whether this leads to any more movement toward iGaming in the long run for tribes, because as we know, it's been something that's been stalled out at the legislative level for states, at least this year in particular. Will tribes be able to try to offer that in some sort of capacity via their brick and mortar casinos? We will see.
Yeah, it's a deal, Adam, where it's the same thing that we've talked about with sports betting before, where you hear the argument in Nevada, right, where we hear the deal of you need to go sign up in person because you're gonna walk through the casino and you might drop $20 in the slot machine, and it's been proven time and time again. Yet all of this, it's like, guys, all these things aren't necessarily related. And talking about online sports betting taking away from casino gaming and all of these things that we keep hearing from some people that get floated out there. And you and I well know the decision whether I'm going to sit in my underwear on my couch and place a $5 bet on the baseball game that I'm about to watch, or shower and put on actual pants and go and physically go play blackjack in a casino, are not related at all. I'm not going to do one or the other when it comes to all of that. And so I think the more that we start to understand that, or at least come to grips with the fact that that's the way that this is, it's not necessarily I'm going to choose this or this. It's more complementary type deals of each other.
Well, the whole idea of cannibalization has always, you've had to take the idea in with the thought that there's a limited pool of people who is choosing to play, right? And that is not the case. It's been proven. And I think the first 6 years of legal sports betting in the United States is only evidence of the fact that you're talking about different customers, right? You're talking about people who, as Matt mentioned, and, speaking of visuals, take that one in. Matt on his couch watching his 6 televisions in his living room, placing a $5 bet on baseball in his skivvies.
Yes.
Take that one in, folks. That you got that one for free. Okay, you got that one for free. The next one, we're going to make you pay for the little visual of Matt doing what he does. But
this is the thing here. It's a podcast version, Adam, so imaginations can run wild.
Well, let me tell you, over on this end of the microphone, they already are. But when it comes to the idea of that player, the same game parlay player firing off $5, $10 same game parlays, that is not the same player as the person who is sitting down at a blackjack table, sitting down at a slot machine, whatever the case might be. So yeah, it more is about offering an amenity that people who otherwise might not be interested in gaming in the way that you're used to seeing it happens might be interested in taking part.